It's been a long time since I.
And we're live.
Awesome. Hey, I was trying to say, and it's been a long time since, I've used sign language, but I learned it at some point. And I was trying to say, you can't hear me. But I just didn't remember all the letters. Anyway, hi. Welcome to yet again another top 10-ish Friday wrap-up, news about the weekend thing. So let's start with the good thing. We're planning on having a test this weekend. I was in the build. You folks were in the build. All's looking pretty good. So yeah, I think right now we're planning on Sunday. Time to be determined. Second, I'm going to wrap this one up at 4:30. Got a bunch of things to do today. So it'll be a very short Q&A. Sorry about that. Having said all that, let's get started. Number one, because I think 14 items. Number one, work in progress, tech audio. Usually don't lead with tech. So this is, oh my God, a red letter day. No, it's just a different item. Spidey made some new audio performance improvements this week. Now the game only generates audio objects for entities within audible range, which reduce the active audio objects in the scenario down from, 2,600 to about 400. So, why did we do that? Frankly, if you're going to ask me that question, you haven't been in the scenario. It was nuts. It was insane. We're testing, obviously, with bigger numbers than most of you will see, in a Camelot Unchained battle. And so cutting down on some of the noise, cutting down and improving performance certainly is a good thing. So that's number one. So thank you, Spidey. Number two, work in progress, tech knockback. This week, Matt continued working on improving knockback, but ran into complications in how it interacted with player movement. Luckily, we had planned to make improvements there as well. So, knockback, massively multiplayer game, isn't like there've never been problems with it. We're solving them. We'll be good to go soon. And not soonish. I mean, hopefully next week. Or certainly in the next couple weeks. Number three, work in progress, tech servers. So Colin and Wiley, with support from Andrew, continued to work on switching our servers to Linux this week. So as I've been saying for quite a while, super important for us. We're hoping maybe to get better performance at minimum, Linux versus Windows, but definitely we'll be saving money, and a significant amount of money for these Linux servers. The overhead, the charge, the Windows licensing fee we need on the servers is high. And so getting to Linux is a really big deal, especially, for a game like ours. Number four, work in progress tech trigger volumes. So Caleb is refining the way trigger volumes are integrated with the abilities system. So once again, we talked about trigger volumes, kind of important, coming soon, or finished version coming soon. Gameplay bug fixes. So one bug that is called out here, it's not the only bug we fixed, but one that's called out. Anthony fixed a bug with the Mjolnir's lightning shockwave ability. So the ability will no longer fire off on plots near the caster, causing the ability to fire more often than intended. So that's that. Number six, work in progress, Draugr NPC concept. So Michelle continued to hone the second and crowd favorite Draugr design. She's also investigating different color variations. Actually, it says color.
Color chameleon.
There you go. Well done. You beat me to it. So yeah, that's obvious. Like why it's an item and why it's a thing. It's nice that we keep adding, I don't know, more game to the game. Number 7, material concepting. So last week we began using a new program in our pipeline, Substance Designer. So this has really helped to get the kind of textures we need, and it saves time. So that's really good. Number 8, work in progress, new weapons. We've been creating new weapons so far, including a new one-handed axe, maul, and shield. They've already been sculpted and are getting a material pass next. Number 9, work in progress. More about the Draugr movement. So Sandra created about 5 different idols and singular direction movement animations, showing a range from a mindless undead to intimidating and more human creation. Once again, need some things to kill, especially in the depths and in other places, because it can't be just about killing players, even though the usual rules apply when it comes to leveling. Number 10, character set scale. Jesus. Scale prototyping. This is really cool. So, Mike D created a build var so we could get into the game and change the scale of our player character. So, why is that really cool? 2 items down. So, number 11, art, helmets. We created 3 new helmets. Light to medium, complete with the LODs and fitting to the different races and genders. These will be backlogged for now and updated later with materials when we add the tinting and decaling system. So, number 12, this is why it's cool. Work in progress, art, giant movement animation. So, once we had a scale settled upon, Scott was able to begin prototyping a giant's walk. So just for fun, we went up to 5x, just to see how the engine would do with it and how it would look. It looked pretty cool, especially for the amount of work that went into it, which is teeny tiny. But you're going to have a GIF of it with today's update. Everyone who came over, to see what Tyler was doing just giggled. So, now why are we doing this? And so I might as well talk about it for a moment or two. I don't know, maybe Jotnars, maybe other things we've talked about. I know some of you have said that, I don't think we're going to be able to do giants for some reason. Yeah, not really. Of course we will. And so both for, the Camelot Unchained races, as well as things that you might have to, deal with, having things that are bigger than just, we're just all about the same size, is kind of a cool and necessary thing. So yeah, fun stuff. Number 13, art, work in progress, Sky Editor research. So, it's in quotes because Mike is finding new ways to bang his head against the desk as he troubleshoots the Sky Editor. That's fairly accurate. Mike and I've been working together since actually before Mythic, and banging his head on things. Yeah, that's how he does his research. So expect nothing but a headache for Mike and really good things to come out of his research. Because research then also goes back to the engineers, and then the engineers do their magic. So number 14 and final, work in progress, art, different character UV layouts. So you've heard us talk about this before. CU and our engine use a singular setup. So since we're going to be adding new creatures and new character types, we have to check on whether this current UV layout is the best one. After all, we've talked about, of course, the NPCs. We've talked about races that aren't just purely human. So, having a slightly different UV layout may be the way to go. That's it. 14 items. Let's go right to the questions because we're on a, tight clock.
All right, folks, give us your questions.
Hydrate. And I need the coffee. because I had a whopping 4 hours sleep last night. So if any of my answers don't make sense, or I start, I don't know, foaming at the mouth or babbling incoherently, instead of babbling like I can, well, blame it on the lack of sleep. No questions? Oh, good. Time to go home.
Have they said when I can kill you in the next test, says Drood.
I was in the test for a little bit today. Frequensense and Fixlet were there as well. And I was bringing in a lot of NPCs just to check out what would happen in the point capture scenario when I did that. And it worked pretty well. I mean, as these guys have heard me here say just a few times, I'll be really happy when the NPCs aren't as dumb as rocks. And that is coming very soon. So, kind of cool. But it did work overall pretty well. So, that was good. But I wasn't there. You could have killed me. But you weren't there. I looked for you. Sent you a message. Sent up a smoke signal. I didn't do any of that. But you could have killed me. If you were there.
Let's see. Dark Society Network asks, what are the milestones that need to be completed before we enter Beta 2?
Oh, so many. The big one is all classes in. What the heck keeps ringing?
It's the truck picking up the dumpsters.
Yeah, God, it's just been doing it for a while. Classes, more classes. So, we don't want to call Beta 2 too early. We always said that Beta 1 was going to be longish. Wasn't supposed to be as long as it's looking, obviously, right now. But, good news is a lot more stuff is coming in and coming in faster. So, we'll see. But the big one, So, the good news is you can say, hey, it's the classes. The better news is, hey, we don't have to say stability. The bad news is that there's a lot of classes. So,
Spike Druid asks, I know it is not CSE's stance to comment on staff departures and sometimes not even hires for a period of time, but can you give us a general staff update?
Sure. So you're absolutely right. We, as a general rule, will not comment on staff departures, mainly because, look, the bottom line is there are reasons, and there's always reasons. Sometimes a person didn't fit in. Sometimes a person needed a life change. Sometimes we needed, to change somebody in the studio. And, we don't want, we really don't ever want to hurt somebody's career. So, we're really quiet about these things, as most developers are. In terms of hires, we will talk about that. What I can say is, if I look around right now, I see new faces. So that's all I can say. I can also say that the new faces are not just confined to, I can look over here and see the new faces. So hopefully, God, that truck is annoying.
Yeah.
But hopefully that makes you feel good. And I can also say, yes, I can say without any fear of contradiction, and this would not put me in any way or the studio in legal jeopardy, we are, with the staff departures and arrivals, we are ahead of the game. How does that? That's about all I can do right now. But as our policy is, as people settle in here, happy to talk about them more, just as we've talked about, some of the engineers who joined us a bit ago.
Bolts for Life 45 asks, random question from someone wanting to learn to code. What is usually the go-to language for developing games?
I think everyone these days pretty much codes in Lisp. It's, no, nobody codes in that anymore. Well, some people do. It really depends. If you're, really looking to get into game development, C#, C++, some studios still code in C. If you're doing back-end work, JavaScript, Golang is also a thing for Google, for example, if you were trying to get into Google. I would focus on any of those, though I wouldn't necessarily focus on C, even though that's like my favorite language. So, yeah. But good time to get into game development. especially on engineering side. The need for engineers is obviously significant. All you have to do is go to websites and look at openings, and you'll rarely find a studio that doesn't have many openings. And even if you assume, that you should, that a lot of times bigger studios keep openings open, even if they don't actually have an opening, to collect resumes. There's still a lot of openings. So, good time to get into programming.
The truck is so loud that people on stream can hear it.
Yeah, this is... and usually it doesn't... usually not this loud, and usually doesn't stay this long. So, I don't know what's keeping it here.
Josh on the YouTube chat asks, Mark, do you love me?
Josh, I do. I mean, it's, look, we've been together forever. Ever since we were kids, as a matter of fact, growing up, in a log cabin in Illinois. I don't know who you are, but I could be like Doug the dog in Up. I just met you and I love you. But thank you. But I love the question. And certainly if you're a backer, absolutely. And if you're a good human being, yeah, that too.
Omer Side asks, are there any plans for epic quests that require tremendous effort from entire guilds?
Quests. So, if you're thinking PvE quests, the answer is obviously no. We've been very clear that PvE questing in the traditional sense of leveling is not a thing. However, are there things you can do in the depths that require lots of cooperation? Yes. Are there things that a realm can ask you to do that requires cooperation? Yes. That's all still part of the plan. But please don't confuse it with the typical PvE, hey, go out and do these things and get these things, in return. Not that I don't think that's fun, it's just not the game we're making right now.
Jeremy Broussard on the YouTube chat asks, hey Mark, want to play Mage Storm? There's a free emulated server online. Also, I made new spells.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've been following at least one of them. If you're the guy who made them, congratulations. And I'm definitely serious about that. Mage Storm is one of my favorite games. Certainly that I made, and we made it mythic. It was a terrific game. It was so much fun to play. I put in a lot of hours playing it. So if you're the guy, hey, respond. And so I can again say thank you for keeping a game alive. If I had the rights to do it, I would do it. But unfortunately, don't have those rights.
Drooged asks, are you ready to talk about updates to crafting yet?
No. And also, Jeremy, if that is indeed you, let us know, and maybe one night I can, pop in and see it. That would actually be fun. As to crafting, sorry, Drews, not right now, only because that hasn't been my focus over the last few weeks. We've been focused, as you can see, on this stuff. But let's talk about this more. It just started to be August, in September.
Racknock asks, how far until 24/7 testing?
Oh, a while. 24/7 testing is really expensive. We're trying to avoid it. Everything about our service right now, or platform, it really runs on the cloud. And that's expensive unless you reserve all your instances ahead of time. That's one of the reasons we're doing the Linuxification. Because once we do that, then it is possible for us to go out, reserve instances, know we're going to use them. And once we do that, then we can start talking about longer term testing. This thing just keeps coming back. It's like the Energizer Bunny. It never stops. I wonder if they're actually picking up the garbage or just putting cars. Maybe we should look and see if they're actually picking up cars and putting them in the dumpster instead. But the other problem with 24-hour testing, or 24, whether it's by 7 or by 2, is that we, for now, we still need people to monitor the servers. And we don't have a DevOps guy or gal who wants to do that. We don't have one, period. So, it isn't something that's a focus for us right now. But once unification is done, once, we are in a position that reserving instances are, I swear we should just,
Cast Fireball on the
cast
truck.
Fireball, yeah, like, get the heck out of here, man. This is like the first time this has happened. I mean,
For this long.
For this long, yeah. I mean, we've heard, it every so often, but, this is just, 20 minutes minimum? Because I think I heard it before I sat down. So sorry. Anyway, I'll get back to the question, Mark. Yeah, so we are absolutely going to have it, but just not now.
Bads versus Bads on the YouTube chat asks, is it still the plan that interrupted abilities will have a backlash?
Yes, we would still like that to be part of the plan.
Bobo Dayak asks, do you have other options regarding engineers if you really can't find new ones for hire for when you reach a critical point?
I just added another recruiter this week. So, yeah, we are banging down every door we can get to. I mean, it's just a problem in the industry. And look, we've said this from the beginning. Part of it is our fault. We are really picky. We're far pickier than, we probably should be. But on the other hand, if we weren't picky, I think it would slow things down. I mean, you can never say that everyone you hire is going to be absolutely brilliant. You can't. Things happen, things don't work out. But we really try to be ultra careful because one bad person, has happened in the past, or one bad hire, sorry. I do not mean one bad person, but one bad hire can hurt the company far more than the hiring helped. So we're trying really hard to be careful. Now, the good news is we've been able to get some really great people. So, and this is where I just start, almost having to pinch myself over what we've accomplished. I mean, yeah, it's taken longer than expected, absolutely. But if you look at what this small team has done with its engine and the game at the same time, it's pretty special. I mean, I know it doesn't feel that way at times, but go in, watch a battle, take part in a keep siege, see how many things can run around, with you, whether they're players or NPCs or bots, and just, marvel at some of the technical accomplishments, because that's what it is. It's a marvel. It isn't something that, people can do easily. I mean, if it was, then, we would have used someone else's engine. So, it's hard. I mean, not only the problems that we're solving are hard, but it's hard to get really good people. So, I think we can't do any more than we're doing now. We literally, have more recruiters working for this company than I had at Mythic. And we are getting really good people, but we are picky. So, it's the only thing, frankly, that could speed it up would be if we had like a huge influx of cash. I mean, because that would help, because then, engineers would be, more confident that, hey, the studio isn't going to be gone in 3 years. But more importantly, it would allow us to get a bit more buzz. So we think we're going to get the buzz when we start streaming, so that we think will, help a bunch. 5-minute warning.
5-minute warning, folks. Jeremy Broussard on YouTube has responded. Not the guy who made it, but I designed on it and made new spell lines and custom spells from mods of the game, as well as rebalanced stuff. There was the main guy who did the server, myself did the design, a guy who made a lot of the new maps. Server is still running. Hit me up, and we can coordinate an evening to get a good game with plenty of people going.
So is this the one done with the Unreal Engine? So I know you can't answer it real time necessarily. So next question.
Spike Druid wants a clarification of an earlier statement. All
Sure.
classes for beta launch would be launch classes, not extender pack.
Oh God, yeah, no. Please don't make my life harder, or I shouldn't make my life harder by saying something that can confuse people, though I confuse people all the time. No, just the classes for live launch.
All right, folks, looking for a good question to end on.
Or a yes/no question in the meantime.
Sure. Any questions? But lots of comments about checking on the truck driver.
Well, all I know is John went out there, and when he came back, there's no sound anymore. So, hopefully the next sound we're hearing is not that of a police siren. But, I don't think that's the case. I hope.
Give us your questions, folks. Mumblefish asks, can we ask questions about the effect that having mass battles would have on games like arena shooters or RTS?
Sure, we can end with that. So, I guess that really depends, right? So if we can show a game where hundreds of people, let alone thousands of people, can engage in the kind of battle you don't see in other games, will that affect them? Sure, absolutely. Will it be a big effect? No. The difference between, say, a Fortnite and, CU, besides a few $1 billion, is the fact that, you can play Fortnite without having to level up your character. You can play in the game and compete. In a game like this, even with the horizontal, progression, people are still going to want to level up, their tunes. And so for a lot of people, the leveling process will be a deterrent for them, to get into our game. Plus, if another major difference, obviously, between these instance-based games, is that you don't have to spend a lot of time, looking for fights or getting a group together, all the things you have to do in an MMO, which of course you have to do in our MMO. So, will it have some effect? Sure, of course. Will it have a major effect? No, not at all. I think what would happen is some people who play, a PvP game, like a Fortnite, will look at ours and go, oh wow, that's kind of cool. Maybe I'll check it out. But it won't be the majority of them. I don't even think it would be a big percentage. But the thing is, we don't need a big percentage. Been very clear from the beginning that this game was never intended, to be something that, would not only not compete with, say, Elder Scrolls in terms of subscriptions or total player count, but not even Dark Age of Camelot. More noise coming into the suite. This is amazing. What an afternoon. Wow. So, well, maybe that's the guy trying to drill out because John went out there, took him,
Right.
threw him into a hole, and he sealed the wall after him. And so, this is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So, yes, it could have some effect, but again, not a major one. I think the bigger effect it will have, quite frankly, is just to, show what's possible with the right team and with the right tech. And, look, we're the right team and we're building the right tech. So hopefully the rest of the world can see what some of you all have been seeing when you jump into the Cherry Keep, because that's just ridiculous. And even the castle, the Keep Siege and the point capture, show you things that you can't really see running quite as well in other games. So perfect. It's exactly 4:30. And with that, as always, folks, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for your patience. As you can see, another